Hi everyone, and thanks for joining me here for this video. What I want to talk about this time round is how to go about configuring the models for my DIY tool changer. I've had quite a lot of inquiries recently about what you can vary to suit the various mills, how you change the number of tools and so on. And it occurred to me I've never really shown how to do it. Just sort of assumed everyone could work it out for themselves, which is a bit unfair. So I thought I'd make this and show you around. So if you've downloaded the model from the shop, there are two main files in the set that you get. The first one I have on the screen at the moment is the tool changer mechanism. You have the sliding rail and the carriage that sits on it, the stepper motor on the top. It does the rotary motion and the carousel itself with the disc of tools. The second model, which references this one, is also in the set you get from the shop, shows that mechanism in front of a mounting case that also contains the electronics. The third model I have open at the moment I've put together using Tormach's 440 model, the alpha models, 3D models available for all the mills, with the tool changer mounted on it, and it looks like that. I've got the base hidden at the moment, really so you can get a better view of how the tool changer sits relative to the spindle in the vertical part. So the model that I have loaded is exactly as it comes if you download it from my shop, and it's configured to suit a 440. It's built and configured the way I have mine, so it's set for 10 tools, which is not the 8 that the OEM ATC provides. What I've been looking at recently is it possible to squeeze more into the 440's frame, and I started by copying the physical size of Tormach's 8 tool changer for the 440, then realised that there was enough space on that to get to 10. And nowadays I tend to look at it and think, you know, if you made the disc a bit bigger, there is actually space to get up to 12. So let me show you how you would do that. If you just go into the user parameters, straight away at the top we have the number of stations on the tool changer. It's currently set to 8. If I pull this down out of the way, see if I can get it where you can see what's happening. If I change that to 12, and my computer's not the fastest in the world, so it takes a few seconds, but I'll hit enter at that, and a few seconds later, we have a 12 tool changer. The other parameters that are here, I've changed this slightly in the latest version of the files, because I found if you tried to increase the number of tools up to 16 or even 20, and the generation of the tool forks didn't work properly. So critical thing really is this one. What spacing do you want between the centers of adjacent tools? That controls the overall diameter, and that spacing has to be big enough, we'll see in a moment. Has to be big enough such that the nose of the mill can get over one tool whilst not fouling the ones on either side. I slightly altered from the previous versions the way the fork is controlled, so now I can actually specify the length of the fork. That's from the center of the tool to the center of the rearmost of the two bolts that hold the fork on. I did that because as the number of tools went up, the forks were becoming very long and very thin, which wasn't really very good. To get that to work, I've added hub diameter always existed, but it was a parameter you set. It's now an expression that calculates the diameter that's required given the tool length you've asked for to get the tool spacing with the number of tools. So I've specified 60mm spacing, and if we hit OK and go to the inspection menu, if I ask it to measure between the center of that tool and the center of that tool, you can see it has indeed come up with 60mm as it was asked to. And when I was asking for the length of the fork, so I should have closed inspect, that's between the rear mounting bolt there and the center of the tool there, and again you can see the 75, which is what I actually asked for. So why didn't I do that in the first place? Well, if you let me save that for a moment, then I'll switch over to my model that has it sitting in front of the mounting box. And this is still the 10 tool version. And here you see one of the major limitations when it's in the 440. It's the spacing here because the 440 is so limited in vertical height, I have the tools set so that they do not pass underneath the mounting box. So if I update this drawing with the 12 tool version, and there we go, and you can see that my tools are going through the middle of the mounting case. So that's not going to work. Now in the bigger mills, the easiest way to sort this is just to make the central spindle longer and drop the whole carousel into the box. I did spot another way of doing it. That doesn't really work on a 440 because you haven't got the height. But what I could do was take the whole of this rectangular tube part and drop it down to the bottom left edge, and at the same time take these mounting holes and drop them down by the same amount so that the overall height stays the same. Now the amount that we're looking for is 28 millimeters. I checked this earlier. So if you let me go into the properties, the user parameters rather of this model, you will find that I have the mounting bar vertical offset. If I take that down by 28 millimeters and move this out the way, you can see now the bar is down, right down to the bottom. To move the mounting holes, they are stud bottom offset, yeah, from the bottom, not 110, 110, and I'll move it by the same 28 millimeters. There we go. So what we've basically done really is taken the mounting case and lifted it. So we've now got clearance between the top of the tools and the bottom of the case, and it'll all be at the right height. But there's still a problem in the 440, you see, because behind this panel here, if I open the box and make the panels invisible, you can see that it's all alloy extrusions, and unfortunately the bottom bolts that would be mounting onto the mill go straight through the lower one, and you can just see it. You can just see it appearing there. So it would be impossible to get nuts onto the back of this. So that's just not going to work. But I did spot another way. So let me put that back to where we started. Okay, that's us back in our original form with the tools not clearing. But I had a look through the catalogues of the people I buy my material from, and I discovered that this rectangular tube, this is 3 inches by 2 inches, and they also do it in 4 inches by 2 inches. So if I put a 4-inch one on there, it will move the whole thing an inch forward, and that actually generates enough clearance. At the same time, we can take these mounting holes and move them an inch forward, so that the whole ATC stays in the same place relative to the spindle, and what we're really doing is moving the case back by an inch. So let me go back into the user parameters. Yeah, we're looking for the mounting bar depth. You can see it's in as being 2 inches by 3 inches, and I'll just change that to 4 inches. And while I'm at it, I'll take the mount front offset, that's the distance from the front of the case to the mounting points, and I will subtract 1 inch from that. 140 millimeters minus 1 inch. Fusion's pretty good at this stuff. If I hit OK, there we have the result. I've moved this bracket has got an inch longer, so it's moved the tools far enough clear, and the mounting holes have been moved 1 inch in this direction in the case. So the ATC stays in the same place. What's really happened is the mounting cabinet has moved an inch backwards. That will work on a 440. So let me save that, and then we'll switch to my model of the 440 mill, and I hope I can show you what I've just been talking about. This is still the original 10 tool version. So if I look at it from above, you can see the back of that cabinet is pretty much level with the back of the mill. It's not quite to the back of the mill, and it's well in front of the top of the 440's electrical cabinet. Now if I ask it Fusion to update that with the latest version of the ATC, we should see the 10 tools will change to the 12, and there we go. And if I look at it from above again, you can see what's happened. The whole of the ATC's electrical cabinet has moved back, so it's now a little bit behind the back of the mill, but it's not as far back as the back of the mill's wiring cabinet, so it's not going to intrude in the space. and I have it sitting nicely lined up. So you can see what I was talking about earlier about clearance. There you go. The clearance between that, the shank of the tool that's next to one we're selecting, has to be clear of this, the spindle nose. Now I've got quite a lot of clearance in there. I think it's actually 7mm. 7mm is fairly generous. I could straighten that down, certainly to about half that. 3mm wouldn't be impossible. It's starting to push your luck a little bit. But that would make it possible to have the whole tool disc slightly smaller. But that's what I wanted to show, changing the design of this box and the mounts for it, and the carousel to hold as many tools as you need with whatever spacing is required for your mill. It's really very simple to do. Just fill the numbers in and let Fusion do the work. Thanks for watching. I hope that helps. I hope it whets some people's appetite for building one of these things. Bye for now.